Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 236 of the Hoots podcast. Wonderful and gracious to be back in your presence and here to provide a positive outlet and mental escape for you guys as we do each and every single week here, right here on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you get your podcast from. It is yours truly, the nefarious Brother Adam, one and only Brother Adam. You can follow me at Twitter, by the way, at the Hoots Podcast. Also, make sure to hit me up on Instagram if you like. It's Joshie Lopez 94. That's JOSHIE Lopez 94 on Instagram. I am alongside the Director of Operations, the man, the myth, the legend, Brother Carter, Derek Stoughton.
What is up, everybody? What's going on, Brother Adam? Always a pleasure to see you. You hit on the key word there, being nefarious, because that's what you are. You are a nefarious brother and the most nefarious of all the brothers. But thrilled to be back with you. I'm glad we get to do this live and in living color. Not coming at you via satellite this week. I am live, living color, in person, ready to go. And I don't know about you, Josh, but we are in the final 2 weeks of 2020. And believe me, the end of this year can, even though it's been great for us, as is in the world in general, I think we are all ready to say sayonara to 2020. So, but thrilled to be here, thrilled to be able to give some people an escape for a little while to talk some wrestling, talk about life, because as we talk about, Josh, this is the Life podcast that just happens to focus on wrestling. And thrilled to be with you this week. Let's do it, buddy.
Yes, and it's been fun sharing these recording sessions on Facebook as well. Thank you to StreamYard for letting us do that. Yep. As always, I would like to ask for you guys to subscribe to the show. It comes to you free of charge every single Thursday. Anywhere you download a podcast, so we don't charge you. We don't have a Patreon account or anything like that. Also, at the same time, make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com and find your latest updates on all your favorite wrestling shows. I will say this. I was telling Brett Carter this last night. I may have watched AEW Dynamite 3 times last night as we record this on a Thursday, December 17th, 2020. If I get honorary later on, I feel justified to do so, okay? So we'll have our signature segment later on in the program.
Josh, there's a special place for you up in heaven or you know, wherever people go. Well, I'm going to say it's in heaven, but because you had to sit through that Mudshow for three straight times, man. Good Lord, what a disastrous program it was, as they all are.
Hey, didn't you know I'm the biggest AEW fan in the world, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Josh. I forgot who I was talking to. I forgot that you are. I forgot that you're a fan of that. You know, and especially since you use all of the wrestlers' real names, and you know, as opposed to you know, some other monikers that may be floating out, all well deserved about the talent. I use that word very loosely. That exists in all elite wrestling going forward, but oh man,
you don't know how tempting it is to type in stunted growth during an AEW dark match.
Or what is it? Nutty Janela?
Oh no, Jelly Nutella.
Jelly Nutella. That's right. Yeah. Good God. But you know him competing in the world for a world championship. Well, it wasn't a world champion, but competing against the world champion in a main event. Boy, that'll put butts in the seats, right?
Yeah. By the way, you would think WWE is the only promotion that confuses people with their stipulations. I had to like write out almost a paragraph of the stipulation of that match. Like,
yeah, I didn't even. At first, I thought it was a world title match, honestly, because the way that they were talking. But
it was a no DQ match, and basically, if Joey Janela won the match, he would get a future title shot or something like that. All right. We'll save the AEW stuff for later.
We'll get it in. We'll get into the flagship segment of the Hoots podcast. But go ahead.
Yeah. So right now we're going to get to the Good Brothers Q&A session as per ritual. All you have to do is send yours truly a question at the Hoots podcast on Twitter, or you can email us questions at the hootspodcast at gmail.com. So with that being said, let's keep the tradition going. We'll start with the good brother Chris Zaletta, which you can follow him at Twitter at XTeam Zaletta24X. He is the good brother of all good brothers.
What's going on, Chris?
All of you guys are good brothers. Yeah,
absolutely. But thank you, Chris. It's always a pleasure to get your questions, my friend.
All right. The cool part about here with the Good Brothers Q&A sessions is that we can like get into sports and art topics that we wouldn't have time to break down like we would for something else, you know. So here we go. What's up, Moose? Here's some questions for this week. Which team is the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC? We'll start with you, Bray Carter.
Biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. They were just talking about this. Let me, because I one thing I will say is that sometimes I get my divisions mixed up, but so I just want to make sure I'm getting the right. Oh, that's tough. I would probably. And we're going to find out about this weekend, but I'm going to say the Saints because barred that last week's disaster that they had against the Philadelphia Eagles, when they're playing at their best, you've got Taysom Hill, who's proven himself as a quarterback. You've got all those weapons, Alvin Kamara, Emmanuel Thomas, James Cook is playing better, Michael Thomas, all these players that are playing quite well. Again, we're going to find out this weekend because we get a Saints-Chiefs matchup, but I'm going to say it's the Saints.
Well, I think for me, I'm going to go with Buffalo.
Sure.
I just think Buffalo kind of reminds me a lot of the 2018 Bears from a couple of years ago, and they're not getting a lot of national pub like that team did a couple of years ago. So you look at the teams that have a great defense, but also have a chip on their shoulder as well. Mm-hmm. Like it'd be easy for me to say the Pittsburgh Steelers, but also at the same time they lost Devin Bush for the rest of the season, and that's a big injury. So, with the Steelers, they've been kind of hindered down because their offense is not producing like they were earlier in the season. So, it's kind of like a pick 'em, if we're being honest.
Right.
So,
I just realized, and again, this is where I screw up. The Saints are in the NFC. So, and I'm just looking at my AFC teams here. I like the Bills because Josh Allen is playing lights out. Don't sleep on the Steelers or the Titans because, and I know the Steelers have lost 2 in a row, but when they're firing on all cylinders, the Steelers can be deadly. And when Derrick Henry they've got Derrick Henry, they've got all these weapons on offense. And Tannehill's playing good too. So yeah. So I meant Saints in the Super Bowl, and I apologize about that. But if we're talking about just AFC, I like the Bills. Don't sleep on the Titans or the Steelers either.
Got a couple more football questions as we continue on. Better long-term career, Justin Herbert or Tua?
Ooh. I'm going to say Tua just because I know him from college, and I know what he was able to do at Alabama. And to just come in and immediately do what he did with Alabama and now transition to the NFL, you put him out there. And both of them were kind of unexpected starters and have made incredible progress. But I think just Tua's mobility and what he's able to do, I'm going to say it's Tua.
I'm going to go with Justin Herbert, and only because of it factor and sustainability. Outside of Michael Vick, I don't remember a quarterback. Maybe Steve Young's the exception of a left-handed guy that had a 15-plus year career with multiple Pro Bowls and championships. So as much as Tua has a lot of credibility and hype from his college days, kind of like Deshaun Watson, I need to see more. I like what I've seen so far. Miami's a good football team. They've been one of the more fun teams to watch, especially on the red zone this season. So I'm a big fan of what Brian Flores is doing down there in Miami. So,
dude, and you know what? Again, don't sleep on Miami either. They took it to the Chiefs early in that game last week. So I know. So, what do they say, Josh? Any given Sunday, right? I mean, again, look at the debacle. What happened with the Saints last weekend? They lost to the freaking Eagles, and I know Mitchell was happy about that, but. Good. Will Lutz missed 2 field goals and cost me a fantasy football playoff game. I was out of the playoffs because Will Lutz missed 2 field goals.
It's been a bad week for kickers this week.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Dan Bailey was a disaster. He missed a couple this week, I think.
He's going to rebound this week.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
yeah, absolutely. All right, next question. You can add this. I want to get your thoughts on this as well, since you're not a Bears fan. But next question, he says, should the Bears draft a QB or sign one in free agency? Or you could add the third element of trading for somebody.
Well, and because I was going to say, because I don't think the Bears are going to get a draft pick. The Bears aren't going to be low enough to get a draft pick that for a QB that you could put as a franchise QB. And look at Trubisky. He played fantastic this week. So if given the right opportunity, fix the offensive line, because the offensive line is offensive. That's that's, you know what I'm saying? Offensive line is offensive to watch. So if you get Trubisky some help, he knows what to do. If I would say trade though, because I bet there are some and we've seen because of the injuries to QBs this year, there's some backup quarterbacks that are making they're getting their opportunity to shine and are doing well. So I would say if you had to pick one, I would say sign one in free agency. Yeah. But I also think that they have two that if you fix the offensive line or the offensive line, which has been offensive, I think they are fine with Trubisky and Foles.
It's a double-edged sword for me. I think right now, looking like big picture wise, obviously you'll have to draft another one. I think the bigger mistake for the organizations that, Ryan, when he first got hired by the Bears, he said that, in his philosophical way, he would like to draft a quarterback every draft, not have it be like the main starter, but just have like the quarterback depth, and you have people in rotation of development. You never know who's who, because I've never seen a top 5 quarterback as a Bears quarterback my entire life, so it's nothing really new to me. You guys know where I stand with the whole Mitch Trubisky thing, and it always starts with the offensive line and coaching more than anything else, than his own weaknesses or whatever you feel his skill level is. There's still people out there that believes he's the worst quarterback of all time, which I think is fucking stupid.
And Josh, I just pulled up the quarterbacks that are going to be available in the draft this year. You got Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, which are head and shoulders above everybody else, but they're probably going to go to the Jets or the Jaguars or, those horrible teams. But I'm looking at who's next. And I mean, Kyle Trask is okay. Mac Jones is okay. They've been playing well, but I don't know if they'll.
What about Zach Wilson from BYU?
Zach Wilson from BYU, he's been playing well. I think Ian Book is a sleeper too, Notre Dame's quarterback. He's been doing all right, but I just, when I watch them play, I don't know. I just don't see that easy transition into the NFL. They're going to be besides Fields and Lawrence, I don't know who you could draft that could be a starter next season.
One thing I know is for certain with this team right now is that Nick Foles will be in a Bears uniform because he's not moving away from his contract. So they don't need one. Who's their third string?
Tyler Bray. He's probably done after this season. I think they'll probably move on. That's the thing. Matt's always been so fixated on his system and stuff. It's always about his system, and it's not about what's best for the players. So they got a lot of decisions to make. We'll see what happens this week with the Vikings, but it should be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it.
I think they can beat the Vikings this weekend.
Shout out to good brother Nate the Great, who's a Vikings fan. So shout out to you, good brother.
Dalvin Cook, he's crazy good.
And Justin Jefferson's.
That's right. I forgot Jefferson. That's right. Go Tigers.
Yes. All right. Here's an interesting question. Never got here in the Hoots podcast before. What other wrestling podcasts do you enjoy?
Oof. Yes. Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to be honest, Josh. I don't really listen to any other wrestling podcasts, and I know that may make me a bad wrestling journalist. And I know there's some other ones out there. And I'm sure there's some other ones that are fantastic. I always enjoyed listening to the Pipe Bomb when that was a thing, but
thank you.
But no, I don't listen to any other wrestling podcasts, and I know that's probably bad of me as a wrestling person, but No, I just don't do it, unfortunately.
My wrestling podcast intake is also has changed a lot as time's gone on, and it's more of a scheduling thing more than my overall view of the field right now. But I've also not wanted to sugarcoat things. I think us as a wrestling media realm have done a lot of disservice to the modern wrestling fans right now with how we conduct ourselves, more importantly on air, and what we bring to the table with these shows and websites and stuff like that. Because like outside of listening to this show, if you listen to anything else, you ask yourself, why am I watching this show? Why am I still a wrestling fan? And the vibe and the energy is 99% negative. Yeah, guys, understand we have a comedic ripping session of AEW every week, but I think there's also the times where we are able to balance each other out and say something we do like about AEW. And I have a general frustration with AEW because I have so many people tell me that this is the company that's actually going to be the alternative after 20 plus years of people saying, oh, TNA is going to be the alternative. Ring of Honor is going to be the alternative. New Japan is going to be the alternative. And it never ended up being the WCW. So you would understand why I'm skeptical and have my pessimistic views on AEW and where it stands compared to people that think they do nothing wrong and Teflon and that they make no mistakes. I think you're being delusional to yourself because you have just blind hate towards WWE because they don't do stuff that you particularly don't want them to do. We're very selfish fan base compared to other forms of entertainment. And I can say that because I see it on social media every single time there's a WWE show going on. The same complaints and the same questions you ask during a wrestling show, A, you already know the answers to, and B, they're actually doing what you want to, but you won't acknowledge it. Right. And that's the problem. But I'll answer this question. I'll say my guy, Jonathan Hood, Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday has probably the best wrestling podcast out there. I love listening to his stuff, and he's the man. Also, give a shout out to other good brothers who followed the show, like the 3 Count, Kings of the Ring podcast. Also got a good show as well. Don't
forget the TDE Wrestling podcast with our good brothers Matt McCool and Referee Tony. I hope to do a show with Referee Tony at some point. I will say that is one that I do check out. I forgot about that one. My bad. Sorry, Matt and Tony. But I do check out the TDE Wrestling podcast.
Yeah, that's a fun one to listen to every single week. What else? I really like Corey Gray's After the Bell podcast. I listen to that a lot. And
the New Day one is funny.
New Day's one was pretty funny. Yes, I agree with that.
I also do like. I've occasionally checked out on the WWE Network. Uncool with Alexa Bliss. That's pretty great too. So check that one out if you get a chance. It's funny.
Oh yeah. Also make sure to check out like 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff or Keeping It 100 with Conan. And of course, you can't be remiss without mentioning the Jim Cornette experience.
The Jim Cornette wrestling experience. Good Lord.
So those are the wrestling podcasts that stand out to me. Of course, we can't be remiss without mentioning Rant with That, but they're on a little hiatus right now. So those are the ones that really stand out the most to me. And when New Age Insiders were around, they were a good listen here and there as well. So
New Age Insiders Network had a great run of shows on it. I really like them too. I hope we get to see them back someday.
Yes. All right. Next question: Who will Asuka's partner be at TLC? Well, Chris, you'll have to wait for our predictions later on in the podcast.
Right. That's right.
All right. Which version of Kane was your favorite? That's a good question.
Ooh. Probably the version with Daniel Bryan, because that was just so funny. I am the tag team champions. No, I am the tag team champion. So I would say it was that one because I mean, Glenn Jacobs is a terrific wrestling character. No matter what, whatever he can do, he's very multi-talented. So, but no, I'm going to say the one with Daniel Bryan with the I am the tag team champions.
I think it's showing more of my age. I think when Kane first took the mask off and he was like really dangerous and just throwing people off the stage and stuff. Yeah, I get it. The whole stuff with Shane McMahon and electric testicles was maybe a little too over the top at times. I get that, but just look, I was like 10 years old when that was going on. Okay, so like 2003, 2004 time-ish, right? And I love that era, and of course, we can't go wrong with the original. If you guys haven't seen like that Brothers of Destruction special they put on the network, I thought that was really cool, and just how much The Undertaker played a pivotal role for Kane's career to even exist in the first place. And the first iteration of Kane without the mask is my favorite era of Kane. That's a good question, and definitely Kane's a first ballot Hall of Famer
for sure.
All right, next question. What do you do? Go ahead.
I was going to say he does have one thing that the Undertaker doesn't. Kane is a 24/7 champion. Let's just keep that in mind.
All right. Next question. Would you do Goldberg versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble? And also, would you do Roman Reigns versus Big E at WrestleMania this year?
Yes and yes. I'm okay with both of those. I don't think it's going to be Big E versus Roman Reigns. I would love to see that, but I don't think that's going to be the match at Mania this year for Roman Reigns. I think. Well, we'll get into this. We can get to this down the road, but I don't think that's going to be the match. But I would love to see it. But I think Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. If they're going to do that, Rumble is a perfect time to do that.
Right. I'll say yes and no. First off, when it comes to Roman Reigns, he is the tribal chief of pro wrestling. Let's understand that. He can make anything work right now. And okay, this is what I was talking about last week. I don't know if you had a chance to listen back, Burkhart, but like last week I was talking about, okay, maybe you, not saying you, but let's say for general, you may not want to see Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, but that does not mean other people don't want to see that match. Right. And go back to what we mentioned earlier with the podcast, I think too many times we try to speak for the wrestling fans instead of actually speaking for ourselves. And if they want to do that match, fine. I'm sure they would pull it off. And I was actually looking forward to seeing that match in the WrestleMania I was supposed to go to last year. And that didn't work out. So yeah, I would like to see that at the Rumble. I say no to Big E because I don't think it's this year, maybe the year after. I love what Big E's doing, and the whole interaction he had with Paul Heyman on Talking Smack this week was fantastic. Yeah, but I don't think it's the time yet. Maybe down the road, but man, let's give it up for the tribal chief of pro wrestling, man. Let's give a round of applause.
Every week, it's must-see television. Every week, it's must-see television.
All right, next question. Last one here for Chris, and then we got some more questions. Your thoughts on the 6-man Hell in a Cell Armageddon match for 2000? Kind of like a throwback Thursday question here. I like this one.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that match. And
by the way, I don't want to make everybody feel old. I was 6 years old when that match went down.
Man, you know, thanks, Josh. Thank you, Josh, for that. I'm sorry. I was slightly older than you for that. But no, it's been a long time since. And you think about it now, you know, that was 6 Hall of Famers going at it at one match, you know, and I remember thinking when they first announced they were going to do that, because Hell in a Cell back then was only used very sporadically to really emphasize the build up to something. But now you throw all 6 of them in there. And I remember thinking, how are they going to do this? And I think that's where they threw Rikishi off the top into a bed full of hay, a truck bed full of hay, I think.
Yeah.
Was during that one. But I remember that and thinking, like, how are they going to pull this off? I actually remember enjoying that match, seeing it. So it was Nowadays, I don't know if you could get away with something like that, or you should get away with something like that. But back then, I remember thinking that was quite a spectacle. And again, now looking back at it, like there was 6 Hall of Famers, which I thought was really cool. So I remember enjoying that match very much.
Well, I don't think they would do that now because too much of the conversation. Oh, you're really bringing this person just to do the job. Like it would just go into the fucking booking crap. Like think about it. You could have done something cool like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and let's see, Randy Orton. I just gave you 6 guys right there. You could do that as an Armageddon, and all the conversation going into that should be like, who's going over and who's losing. I guarantee you that any money that would happen.
Of course, it'd be like, oh my God, they're burying everybody, blah, 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 blah. But then when you have a 12-man tag on AEW, oh God, this is the greatest thing ever. You know, oh my, look at all this talent. But it's ridiculous.
Yeah, great pacing, great storytelling, great fluidity. Get the fuck out of here. All right, next questions come from King Ajar. Shout out to him.
Good brother as always.
Yes, make sure to follow him on Twitter at King HR. He says, why are wrestling fans... Oh, boy, here we go.
You just, Josh, you can just stop right there and know we're going to have a 10 minutes rant about this, but go ahead.
Yes. Why are wrestling fans so obsessed with ratings compared to other TV properties? I never heard a Grey's Anatomy fan talk about demos.
King Ajar, I'm going to say this as best as I can. I have no freaking idea. I don't know. I think it's because the people that care about ratings are the same type of people who were obsessed with ratings back during the Monday Night Wars and just haven't gotten outside of the mindset that in today's modern era, ratings don't matter. They're still fixated on the Monday Night Wars from 20 years ago, and they feel that that's what professional wrestling should be today. And it's not. The product has evolved. How people consume media has evolved, but they don't want to get past that. They just want to live in this nostalgic bubble and don't realize what the bigger picture of what the business has become. So that's what I think is the real answer. But honestly, I have no idea because it makes no sense to me.
There's a couple ways we could look at this, and I'll just be upfront and just ask you guys a question. And King, I think you'll understand where I'm coming from when I ask this question. What's more important to you as a wrestling fan? The overall benefit of the business or what caters to you? Because I'll ask you this. What's more important, the bottom line or ratings? If we want to do the comparisons, this week is all about let's raise up AEW as it's the greatest wrestling promotion in the world right now when it's not. To WWE, oh, how many tweets I saw this week of, oh man, WWE's dying. Oh, Vince better be scared. Oh, this is Vince's fault for letting AEW beat Raw ratings. My thing is here, I'm not going to come up with excuses about what our shows were on or weren't on. This is simple fact. You tell me if AEW Dynamite is still going to be around in the next 20 or 25 years, okay? You tell me if AEW is going to be a publicly traded company in the next 4 or 5 years. When AEW reaches the distribution levels and the money and the profits that WWE makes, then we could talk about competition and about Vince being scared and about a new company taking the mantle. Because interactions and reviews on social media don't mean shit in the bigger picture. Okay, you want to hit me with ratings about Raw. Yes, everybody and their mother knows that Raw should not be 3 hours. but this is a fucking business. It's not a mom and pop shop where we're booking shows as if we're having it at a fucking moose hall, and the whole show has to be formatted with long ass wrestling matches. And this is the biggest issue that nobody ever wants to bring up. So we can put over for the variety and the different styles that we get from all these different promotions. And this is a guy who spends more time covering products outside of WWE as a guy who's claimed to be a WWE shill, right? So we have AEW, we got MLW, we got New Japan, we got Ring of Honor, we got so many different Impact Wrestling going on right now, right? All of them have their own unique taste to it. But when it comes to WWE, you want them to be presented the same way as AEW and New Japan and Ring of Honor. So it's okay for those companies to have variety, but you want WWE to be exactly like them. It makes no sense. It's reverse logic. And okay, you don't like the fact that their style is more to entertainment than the old school wrestling. After all these years, wouldn't you think that would not be a bad thing? Okay, maybe it's not your style of wrestling that you prefer. Cool, that's fine. But we've gone through this fucking 10-year window as a fan base where we try to figure out any little grass thing we can figure out where the demise of WWE is coming, and we have to validate the fact that the only good wrestling is TV-14 and no writers and all this stuff. Guys, you got AEW that's rated TV-14, has no writing stuff, and this show still fucking sucks. Nobody will say it, but I'll say it. The show fucking sucks. All right,
horrible. It's awful.
So
I'll say it too, Josh. I'm right there with you. It's awful.
You got a company that's called All Elite Wrestling, yet the 3-hour show on Monday Night Raw produces better quality matches per week than that show. Now, I'm not going to come in here and play dumb and play blind here. Yeah, Raw doesn't have the greatest storylines all the time. They don't make all the great decisions all at the same time. But you tell me, what's more talked about on social media every week? Monday Night Raw or Dynamite? We could pull up those numbers too, since we want to talk about ratings every week.
Right.
Like WWE has reached over 1 billion wrestling fans in social media. Look at their profits. Look at their last stock reports. What are we talking about here?
Because, well, again,
you're talking about ratings based off of people that are reported off of fucking Nielsen, which is a flawed system. You're having bad rounding errors. I played the audio from Eric Bischoff multiple times on this podcast of it's a fucking rounding error, and all this stuff from BuzzFeed and Nielsen are just grade A homogenized bullshit. So what do we base this on? Okay, so Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez are the fucking be-all, end-all of ratings and what's working, what's not. Kiss my ass.
Well, again, Josh, I mean, it's going to be tough to follow that because you're exactly right. Here's the deal, though. AEW markets themselves to a very limited fan base. They limit it to the hardcore marks who, spend their lives, thinking about contemplating professional wrestling. That's their end all be all. They market themselves to the IWC, the most vocal IWC. What do people say all the time, Josh? Just because you yell louder does not mean that you're right. What's my solution to getting my point across and to just hammering in this one point when, I'm just going to yell louder. I'm just going to continue to, and I'll just say the same thing except louder, and then eventually I'll be right. No, you just are making yourself look like more of a jackass. And that's exactly what the type of people that AEW is marketing themselves to. Look at whose opinion they care about the most. Tony Khan, who's just this billionaire who's playing Booker because he has the money to do so and the influence to do so because of his professional connections. Meltzer and Alvarez, who are not professional wrestlers, they're just some people who have somehow made an opinion for themselves, and people who claim to be wrestling journalists, but are still on this company's payroll. So who are they? Of course.
Yeah.
Who are they
by the
gonna,
way, Brian Alvarez, can you let us know when your W-9 form from AEW comes in this year? We want to know.
Right, exactly. I mean, here's all you need to know, right? One of the top people who this company pushes has a move named after a wrestling journalist. Like,
yeah.
Go
what
ahead.
are we talking about here? We got a company that can't average over 1 million viewers over a week. We're marking out for fucking 800,000 viewers, while Raw and SmackDown still find a way to reach over 2 million people.
Right.
What are we talking about here?
And that's a snapshot of one evening. Do you know that Raw and SmackDown get shown later on in the week in different languages in different countries? But do we take that into consideration? No.
Nope.
We just take the snapshot of what is happening on one night in one country. That's all. And therefore, that's the end-all, be-all of... And people can say, well, that's not fair. You're comparing apples and oranges. No, you're not. When AEW gets broadcast in Korean, in Saudi Arabian, in French, in German, in all these different countries, right? Then we can talk. But it's you're taking one evening, one country. That's it. It's nothing more than that. And again, Josh, we've talked about this before. When WWE does all this, oh, we're gonna do all this, kiddie stuff. They're catering to new fans. AEW isn't going to be around in 4 or 5 years because the people that are younger and watch AEW or WWE, they don't give a crap about AEW. They don't care about AEW. They don't care about, all this kind of stuff. So WWE is thinking broad picture. AEW is thinking right now. And when those fans stop caring in 5 to 10, well, no, they'll probably always keep caring because they want to relive the glory days for as long as they can.
Yeah,
but
they can't move on from the 90s.
Exactly. And once that's over, then what? And what happens when the money runs out? Because you would think, unless all of a sudden the Jacksonville Jaguars become this once again giant juggernaut, which I can't see that happening. Yeah. Look. Yeah. And Josh, how are they doing this year? How's their season going this year? But I'm just saying, like, in 4 or 5 years, the money's going to run out. Eventually, executives at Turner are going to go, so why are we spending all this money on this that's not really bringing us a lot of money? Now they've got to honor their contract that they signed through. I think it's like 2023. I think it is. Yeah. So they're going to honor the contract, fine. But then what's going to happen when the money is run out? And NBA because think about it. What programs do way better in as far as numbers do on TNT? All their movies. The NBA on TNT, which, by the way, Inside the NBA is still, to me, one of the funniest shows. Yes. And, that should be what TNT hangs their hat on because it's actually really entertaining every week. And people...
Brother Carter, freaking Guy Fieri does triple the numbers that AEW does. Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about ratings with wrestling promotions, and we have a media... I'm using air quotes here. We have a media crew in wrestling that doesn't even accurately cover the actual ratings from wrestling.
Right.
Like, cool. Like, I get it. AEW's got their niche audience, and they're clinging on to any hope that WCW can come back and that WWE could fall into the WCW trap from 2000. I've heard those comparisons this week that, right now, WWE is current day WCW from 2000 and 2001. I watched those shows back in the night. What the fuck are you talking about?
If anything, Josh.
If anything, we mentioned it. Not everything right now is great, but it's not bad either, too. And again, like I mentioned earlier, we go back when AEW is a publicly traded company and they're making more distribution and have the stock reports that WWE has, then we could talk about competition. But these little ratings in a dying platform of television and cable, what are we basing that on? Because you can throw ratings in my face, but still objectively, as a guy that covers all these shows, when you want to talk about quality of shows between AEW and WWE, WWE can take a shit and still have a better show than AEW. Okay?
Correct.
And here's the thing, Dave Meltzer has really the bravado to say that, oh, if you put AEW on Fox, they would do better numbers than SmackDown.
What?
Really?
Are you kidding me? Good God. Well, again, Josh, let's just look at it, right? You know, everybody says, you know, oh my God, AEW is clearly a better product. Really? What match would you want to see? Let's take a look at the pay-per-views, right? What match do you want to see? Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, or Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens? Which match would you rather see?
Right.
What would you rather see? The Young Bucks versus FTR, or the New Day versus the Hurt Business? What would you rather see? You know, it's like the women's division. What would you rather see? Sasha Banks and Carmella, or Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida? Like, what would you rather see? Or Britt? Okay, I'll even do you one better. The best women's, Britt Baker or Thunder Rosa, right? Which you could argue are the two top women's talents in the company right now. Which we'll get into this later, Josh. Well, the ranking system. I have a rant about that with the women's division. But anyways, so Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Sasha Banks versus Carmella. What would you rather see? Every match I've listed, you would rather see, I think anyways, and the majority of fans, and if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to admit I'm wrong, but the majority of wrestling fans want to see the WWE product, wrestling-wise, versus the AEW product. Because what is the AEW product? Blah, 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 spot, blah, 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 backflip, blah, 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 super kick
WWE.
party. Right. But I'm just saying, well, in AEW matches, you know, blah, 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 spot, right? It's not a story. WWE tells a story. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And
shout out to my girl, Sarah Amato. She just put in Sasha Banks versus Carmella. Exactly.
Right.
Like,
absolutely.
You know, it's funny. Like, I wear occasionally the AEW hoodie that I got for Christmas last year. I just like the look of it, right? Mm-hmm. I wear it around, and I remember one time waiting for a lift ride. A guy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, is that a new show like the ECW thing WWE did a couple of years ago?" Look at that. They're asking me if AEW is a remake or a variation of the old ECW from 2006. It's like, that's not good.
No,
that's not good, man. I don't get it. I'm sorry for the rant. I get fired up about this because there's so much people that come up with false bravado without actually going into the facts. I'm a person that just gonna be upfront and tell you how I feel. I can follow things up with facts, and I don't engage in hyperbole. That's one thing we do not do on this podcast, is engage in hyperbole. I'll have my opinion. You can agree or disagree with anything we say, but one thing's for certain: whatever you hear from myself or Brother Carter, we genuinely feel about what's going on right now. So,
well, and Josh,
great question.
The last thing I'll say is we call a spade. When AEW is great, we'll let you know. When AEW sucks, we'll let you know. When WWE is great, we'll let you know. When WWE sucks, we'll let you know. And there's some things about WWE that are not good. I'm sorry, but they're not. But we'll tell you.
Yeah. All right. Next question for King is Charlotte overrated or underrated?
Ooh.
Dylan.
I think she's, if anything, she's underrated. But I think she's perfect rated. Let's go with that, because she's not over, she's not under. She's right where she should be. If I had to pick one, I'd say slightly under, because I think that she's currently, as you all know, I think she's the GOAT. I think currently when she comes back, she's currently the greatest female wrestler of all time. And so if I had to pick one, it'd be slightly under, but right now I think she's right where she needs to be.
I've had about 6 or 7 months of without transcribing a Charlotte match and really take a step back and look at the entire WWE women's wrestling landscape as a whole. Because I just do the NXT shows as well, but I also do NXT UK. So you got like the Kaylee Rays and Piper Nivens of the world, or Aoife Valkyrie, by the way, which is going to be the next breakout star. Man, that girl's fucking awesome. Anyways, I took a step back and looking at this like objectively from an in-ring point of view. And all due respect to Asuka and Sasha and everybody else, the queen is still the queen in the ring, in my opinion. In my style of wrestling that I prefer, Charlotte is still number one in my eyes. Now, we could talk about and have the debates about drawing ability. There's no argument about it. Sasha is a mega star. She's box office. She is a draw. She's on the same level, in my opinion, even more on a higher level of box office than Charlotte is as a superstar. But as we're talking about what's overrated or underrated as a performer, I think Charlotte's highly underrated and underappreciated for what she brings to the WWE, especially from a heel point of view, because us as wrestling fans don't know what heel is, or they don't know what heat is if it slapped us in the face. Honestly, us wrestling fans can't process what's heat or not, because we can't have it. Anytime anything goes over the top, we get in our PC feelings about something. It happens every time. And when wrestlers would poke fun at towns, people are like, oh, stupid cheap heat. This business is based off of emotion. You got to have some type of emotion one way or another. I don't care if a wrestler goes into every town and talks trash about their teams. They're going out of the way because they're eliciting a reaction out of you. If they're just coming out with a bland script and saying absolutely nothing, like most of the people on AEW Dynamite, they have nothing really consequential to say, then what the fuck's the point of you being on the television show?
Right.
You know? So I think Charlotte's very underrated, in my opinion. I think she's underrated in the ring, and I think she's underrated on the mic as well. So I like that question, King.
That's great.
All right. Let's see. I just got a notification here on Facebook. What's this? Never mind. All right. Next question from King. Yes. Better Sister Abigail. Like, which one do you rather have? Alexa Bliss or Liv Morgan?
Ooh.
Man, Liv Morgan got a great waterfall, by the way.
I know. That's like asking somebody to pick from their two favorite children. You know, it's just good Lord.
Yeah, but a buttermilk pancake. Oh man.
I'm gonna say Alexa just because of what she's been doing with the Fiend, because she nails that Sister Abigail. It's great. So yeah, I'm gonna say Alexa, but both would be excellent choices.
I'll go with Alexa Bliss too. She has like movie like star characteristics to her. Like she reminds me a lot of Margot Robbie. She's just very talented in what she does. So I'll go with Bliss. Hell, like every time you see her like get into that trance and stuff like that, like it's just fucking dope. Like her new like remix for her theme song is really cool. Like anytime they do like the like setup for the stereo Sister Abigail's is pretty cool. Like I can't wait for like Bliss and Bray to start doing like the Spire Walk thing like Bray used to do back in the day. You know what I'm talking about? Oh man, that's a good time. So
when so just side question, Josh, and if this is a question, hopefully we can get to it, but when do we get to see Bliss compete for a championship? Because let's face it, you could throw her at a moment's notice in a championship match.
Right. I would not be surprised if Bliss has a WrestleMania match for a top shot. I would do, if you asked me right now, I would have Asuka take on Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania.
Yep.
And I would have Bliss win the Royal Rumble too, if you want my opinions on that.
Well, because she can do all that sneaky, you know, like the hypnotic stuff and just kind of out of nowhere appear and make her win. She could be the... Well, and I'm sure we'll get into this when we get into the next, but don't sleep on Alexa Bliss to win the Women's Royal Rumble match.
How dejected we're going to be with having the freaking Rumble with just fucking virtual screens around the ringside area. God.
I know.
Brutal, man. Brutal.
Hey,
Florida, they're like any moment, like they get the green, like, oh, okay, here you go. Everybody and their mother can go.
Well, and and Josh, you never know, man. Maybe they will. Like, you never know when you could, like.
Florida's the freaking wild, wild west, man. They got the oddest people on planet Earth, and I know that from personal experience.
Well, you know what, Josh? They could. Don't be shocked too if WWE rents out a dome and does what AEW is doing for the Rumble. Because
I'd be surprised by that.
I'd 100% be okay. Honestly, I'd be okay with that because that's part of the deal is having the live reaction to those returns. That's what makes it so special. So don't be shocked if WWE rents out an outdoor venue and does a 25% capacity or hell, Josh, why wouldn't they do it at a football arena? Rent out a football arena and do what some of the college football and NFL fans do, like at 25% capacity. Why not?
And then.
No, I did.
Sweet, dude, sweet. It's funny thing. I work at my uncle's tattoo shop now. Like, I kind of remember that scene when they did get the tattoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh God. All right. So one more question for the Good Brothers Q&A. Shout out to everybody that's sending questions so far. It comes from Patrick Fritz, the Good Brother.
Oh man, a good brother.
You can follow me.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say he does a great Bane impression too. So shout out to him.
Yes, he does. You can follow him on Twitter at RatedPWF. He asked, "What? No, we got like a relationship question here. Why do you think couples work so well in pro wrestling, a la Triple H, Stephanie, Cody Rhodes, Brandy, etc., etc.?" I just think you're just migrating into the business that you guys work at the same time. At the root of the core, that's what it is. Like, you guys have symmetry and chemistry and all that stuff. So it's not really surprising. It's just interesting, especially with like Cody and Brandy, that they're executives also in AEW. So I think more than anything, you got two people that know each other, but also got each other's back. I think that's also very important as well, because when you're working in a business, especially if it's like family involved or you have like your partner or whatever, it can be very interesting at times. It can go one way or it can go another way. So I think those couples, especially in wrestling, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. We know sometimes when bad divorces happen too. So, you look at Triple H and Stephanie, that's really, it's inspiring in a lot of ways of what they've been able to accomplish together. Even with all the crap they take, it's really inspiring that they're still together all these years still. And obviously when it comes to Triple H, God knows what would happen if that relationship would have fell off. Think about that. It's a very tipsy water you got to handle when it comes to wrestling relationships. So that'd be my opinion on the issue. What do you think, Brother Carter?
Well, I think it's just because, the nature of the business, they all just spend so much time together that you just can't help but, start to talk to certain people, and just two people just, it just happens to work out. Because again, when all these people spend 300 days on the road, and are barely home, it's just only natural to happen that you're going to connect with people, on bus trips, or just happen to chat at the arenas and the shows and kind of thing. So I just think it's because they spend so much time together. It's just bound to happen.
Right. All right. Thank you guys so much for the questions this week. The Good Brothers Q&A session, as always, we do it every single Thursday right here on the Hoots Podcast. Leaves a question at the Hoots Podcast or at the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. All right. Before we get to our signature segment this week, wanted to go a little bit over what's going on this week in WWE. A little bit, go back and forth really quick about what we liked or didn't like for Raw or SmackDown this week. And I'll start off with you, Brother Carter.
I enjoyed both shows this week very much. Once again, Roman Reigns proves why he is the man. Just absolutely terrific stuff. And I think we're going to get into this more, Josh, when we get into our predictions. Yes. For TLC this week. But overall, I just said Roman Reigns continues to prove why he's the man.
I'm very much looking forward to the Carmella Sasha Banks match. I think that's going to be really cool. We kind of got a preview of that this week on SmackDown, and they obviously have great chemistry. Carmella's looking as strong as ever, so she's absolutely terrific. So really looking forward to that. So on the Raw side of things, really thought Raw. I enjoyed Raw this week. I thought very funny. I wrote down very funny opening segment with Miz Morrison and AJ Styles. I think all that works. I also wrote down, Josh, if AJ Styles really wanted to hurt Sheamus when Sheamus was tied up, he should have swung the chair at his junk. You know what, like if you know what I'm saying? Like if you really want to hurt a dude, that's what he should have done. I think we need to see more Bray Wyatt and R-Truth segments, because that was hilarious. And also, Matt Riddle continues to act like why he's high all the time. That was great. And Tom Phillips is one of the most boring on-air personalities that I have seen in a long time. So those are just kind of some overall thoughts. What did you think of the shows this week?
I liked Raw more this week than SmackDown. I've been saying that for the last couple weeks. So those are the ones that I just think Raw's been having better shows over the last month or so, in my opinion. And that's not to take anything away from SmackDown. To see Raw as a better roster, and it's much as I love Roman Reigns, he can't be on for 2 straight hours. So it's a little double-edged sword there. Like I wanted to play something really quick from Roman Reigns from this week's SmackDown. Like, if you hear what this guy says and you can't tell me that he's not like a box office star, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, this dude is literally the tribal chief of pro wrestling. He's that fucking good. So I want to play this clip from last week's SmackDown during the beatdown of Kevin Owens. And this is Roman Reigns talking to Kevin Owens' family.
I'm Roman Reigns. I'm the head of the table. I'm the tribal chief. You're tribal chief. I'm the guy that put the roof over your head. I'm the guy that put the food on your table. If you don't talk some sense into your husband, kids, if you don't talk some sense into daddy, I'm gonna be the guy that takes the food off the table.
Mamma mia. Alright. Like, Roman Reigns is freaking killing it right now. Like, he literally just like overall, here we go. Sorry about that. Got a little feed off my phone here.
I heard my voice, Josh. Did I say something stupid?
Yeah, I had an accidental slip on the phone here, but that's fine. Yeah, I was just playing the audio of Roman Reigns talking shit to Kevin Owens' family after beating him up during the backstage. So I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, Roman Reigns is clicking on all cylinders right now. He's definitely the tribal chief of pro wrestling. As I was going to say, you know, we got Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens coming up this Sunday. Probably looks like that'll be the main event of the show. And always happy for Kevin Owens when he gets to main event a show, being that Kevin Owens is my current favorite WWE superstar. So always cool to see that. God, I got to tell you, man, like, you look at Sasha and Carmella to start off the show and close off the show this week for SmackDown. I thought that was great. The contract sign was really good. Carmella is really getting into her own right now. Like, I think this is her best version right now. The look was phenomenal this week from Carmella. I thought, more importantly, she was really good in the ring this week. I know it's like a little brief and it wasn't as long as the match it probably will be at TLC, but I've just been really impressed with Carmella. She's really making a name for herself as the weeks gone by, and I like what I'm seeing so far. So that stood out to me. And then, like I was saying while you were gone, Barker, like, I just think for the last month, Raw's been the better show. I just think they have the better overall roster. And, like, as much as I love Roman Reigns, you can't be on the show for 2+ hours. So But also, like, you look at AJ Styles versus Sheamus this week. I thought that was a really good match. And then you got the 6-man tag, which was a fantastic tag match. You had New Day and Jeff Hardy against the Hurt Business, which was a barn burner. Keith Lee took on the Miz and John Morrison. There's been some complaining about that. The whole deal. Oh, why are you making Keith Lee lose to Miz and Morrison? Well, if Keith Lee squashes Miz and Morrison, then shouldn't Keith Lee get a shot at the briefcase then? Like, we can do this back and forth bitching fest if we want to, Like,
but again, Josh, and I know we keep bringing this up, but if they were to do something like that in AEW, oh man, that's so great! Look at how they're building this
booking, great booking,
unbelievable, unfreaking believable. Oh,
yeah. Now, for example, let's do John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus Darby Allin. No, not even Darby Allin. Let's do Alex Reynolds and John Silver versus pick anybody out of the litter.
Lance Archer.
There you go, Lance Archer. And Lance Archer loses, right? Oh my God, really? Lance Archer losing?
No, they would go, whoa, Silver and Reynolds are so good. Give them a tag title match.
God, Silver should main event Revolution. Oh man. But what did you think of the stuff with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton this week?
I thought it was great. I mean, Bray Wyatt is just a sadistic bastard, and I love every bit of it. He can come out and be just this psychopath. I will say I thought that the whole burning backstage was kind of weird. I didn't really. It just seemed like it was kind of an odd place to have that. No. So I did. Go ahead.
I don't think so, because they've been airing a lot of flashbacks of Randy Orton burning down the compound, and it's symbolism more than anything. And when you heard Randy in the first part of that segment, he was like, "The Fiend's not going to outsmart me." So he's luring Bray into that, and then the thing with the Fiend. And it's kind of similar to the Undertaker, where he could make these supernatural things work for what he's doing. So does it look odd on the premise? But when it comes to the Fiend, it's really not, because he can overcome anything, actually.
Right. No, I get why they did it. The storytelling, to me, I understand and completely get every part of the storytelling. I just thought it was kind of. I would have liked to see them build to it a little more, maybe have that happen at TLC. Plus, my thought also was and I put this when I tweeted about this on Wrestling Rumors. By the way, follow Wrestle Rumors on Twitter. Be sure for everybody to do that. I said, shouldn't the sprinkler system be going off right now? What kind of security, what kind of fire system prevention does the arena have right now? And why is there a random gas can lying backstage? So I just thought it was kind of an oddly, and Bray Wyatt, why would he sit down in this chair that was clearly meant to be? So again, and maybe I'm just overanalyzing everything, because as you know, Josh, I love The Fiend. I think The Fiend he's currently my second favorite talent in WWE right now, behind the Tribal Chief. Mm-hmm. I think he's head and shoulders the best part about Raw every week is The Fiend. And of course, I mean, what can you say about Randy? It has nothing to do with the talents. It has nothing to do with the storyline overall. I just kind of thought it was an odd segment this week. But that's just me. That's just my personal opinion. But I understand.
One thing that's an undisputed fact is that Tom Phillips is by far the worst play-by-play announcer.
He's awful. He is awful. How is it that Vic Joseph is not on Raw? How is it that Nigel McGuinness is not on Raw? They're both fantastic, Get them on Raw and send Phillips to main event or something. It's
he sounds like he's in a fucking depression or sunken place. And I don't want to joke about depression, because I deal with depression too, but more of a sunken place more than anything. This dude just sounds so despondent.
Yes.
every time, especially when like cool shit's going on in the ring. Like no energy when it comes to the bigger spots of the match, and it's like not every knee strike is a double knee strike. Like, like I know he knows his moves, but like, oh what? You're not allowed to call a code breaker anymore. Like,
that's right.
Oh my god, it's a face crusher.
Well, they got to do something if they're not allowed, which I think that's stupid, by the way.
What? There's an IP on code breaker now. Come on.
I think that's stupid, and that's Tom Phillips is just doing what he's told, so that's not his fault. But because I think
I know whose fault is it. It's not just Vince. It's that fucking we're not wrestling. We're not wrestling. Bucky Beaver Boy in the truck.
I know. Oh my god!
I find you tiresome, Cornette. I'm finding
it's a code breaker. That's what it's called. Like, that's what it is. But no, I agree with you, Josh. I can't stand Tom Phillips. Tom Phillips was funny with the Mike Rome thing. That was great. With Mike, like that was hilarious. That was great. But like that whole, I went back and actually watched that thing with Jericho and Kurt Angle backstage. Like Tom Phillips, he looks like he could bust out laughing at any moment if you go back and watch it again, because the way Jericho's giving it to him, that was hilarious. That was great. But no, I can't stand Tom Phillips. I mean, even Saxton at least tries. And you know I'm not a big Saxton guy, even though you all think I am the Saxton of this group, which is incorrect. But it is also incredibly correct at the same time.
All right, quick question. Would you rather be Saxton or Excalibur?
Oh, Saxton. Oh, God. That's not even... oh, my God. But,
all right, man.
Is it time?
I think it is. I just want to say really quick, I will be covering TLC this weekend. Make sure to check it out on ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. I also want to mention really quick, since we're on here, I always like to give a little acknowledgement to other stuff that's going on around the wrestling bubble, if you will. It was a very busy wrestling weekend for me, as it's been this whole year, actually. We had 2 pay-per-views on Saturday. First, the Super J Cup, where El Phantasmo won the Super J Cup for the 2nd year in a row, defeating ACH in the main event. But I gotta say, man, Leo Rush looks great in New Japan. I gotta say that it was really cool to see Leo out there. He has a sick entrance and theme song, by the way. If you guys haven't heard it, it's really dope. The Super J Cup was a lot of fun. It was my first time covering that tournament. Usually they spread her out like the other New Japan tournaments, but this was like a one-night thing, Bret Hart. So they did the entire tournament that night, and that was a long night. 10-match card to type out, but that was fun to jot down. And then we had Impact Wrestling's Final Resolution, which was the final pay-per-view, if you will, for Impact Wrestling in 2020. And Rich Swann defeated Chris Bay in the main event. That was a really good match. Also want to give a shout out to Deonna Purrazzo and Rosemary, who had a really good match for the Knockouts title. We have a new Impact X Division champion, Manic. Kind of had a loophole here because originally TJ Perkins is not allowed to compete for the X Division title, so he decided to don his old gimmick as Manic to steal the title from Rohit Raju, and I feel bad for it because Rohit's a pretty good heel. Also stuff with Impact, since everybody's talking about the whole AEW and Impact partnership. Yeah, we go from the good guy, good brothers to just, all right, we're back to the Bullet Club 5 years later, because that's really going to make a difference. Like, guys, the Bullet Club are not the NWO. They're not on that level. Like, I'm seeing all these marking out for, oh my God, the original Bullet Club is getting back together. Who gives a fuck? Like, honestly, who cares?
Again, Josh, it's that small niche that, like, if, again, the new fans of WWE, they're not even going to care about Bullet Club. Like, they're not even going to, they don't care one bit.
They didn't care then. Didn't care then.
I don't, Josh, I have, again, I've been a pro wrestling fan my whole life. I have never seen the original, anything about Bullet Club on my screen, except if I go search for it on YouTube. That's like, I'm a very small, like, it's such a small, compared to the entire wrestling market, Bullet Club is such a small part of it. But again, those people are going to be the most vocal. Bullet Club's the best thing ever. It's
and if you want to talk about the original Bullet Club, actually watch New Japan because that's where it's actually at. It's not an Impact. It's not an AEW.
Right.
And that's
and Josh, guess what? The best part of Bullet Club, where are they right now? They are in World Wrestling Entertainment. And the worst part about Bullet Club, where are they right now? They are in another promotion that deserves negativity, which we'll get to here in just a moment.
All right. Next part here I wanted to mention here before we get to this segment is that MLW's doing some good stuff as well. Always great to see Alicia too on the screens. Man, she's a great acquisition for that company. I've just been enjoying a lot of seeing for the MLW shows. They had the Opera Cup. So many tournaments this year. It's insane. We have Filthy Tom Lawler and ACH was the main event this week for Fusion that I covered before Dynamite last night. So it's nice to see that. And it'll be Low-Key against Filthy Tom Lawler in the main event of that. By the way, MLW is having their first pay-per-view January 6, 2021. Kings of Coliseum. It's going to be free on YouTube that day instead of paying for it or traditionally on Fight TV or anywhere to get your pay-per-views from. Nice little holiday gift from Court Bauer and the crew at MLW. So just want to give a shout out to those guys. And this is a little mini roundup that I always do outside of the WWE AEW bubble. So
did I see Kyle O'Reilly is going to get another shot at Finn Balor?
Oh, yes. Barn burner last night.
That's awesome.
One of the best NXT TV matches of the year so far. Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne ripped it up last night. Also, we had Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm as the main event for NXT last night. So, when it comes to pure wrestling, NXT is the better show on Wednesday nights. But there's also another show that takes place on Wednesday night.
I believe there is, Josh.
Yeah, and this place has a island of misfit toys, if you will. Okay, and right now we're gonna take a trip down that merry-go-round, and we're gonna start it right now with what the hell is wrong with AEW. We're gonna start off in 3, 2, 1.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW?
Brought to you this week, as always, by the good folks at the Wrestling Observer newsletter and PW Torch.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay, Josh. What the hell is wrong with AEW? Okay, let's just start at the very beginning. All right. Good God, MJF needs to get away from the inner circle. It's awkward. It doesn't work. They're competing, in this odd. They don't really know how to work well together, which sucks because they're both great. And everybody else in the inner circle is just kind of standing by the wayside, or they're being useless in their roles. So most notably, that is Jake Hager, who is just, he's kind of awkwardly agreeing with everything. His stuff with Wardlow, when they have it, doesn't work. I don't know about you, Josh, but MJF needs to get the hell away from the inner circle. It's awful. I hate it. You want to comment on that, or you want me to keep going?
No, I totally agree with you. By the way, I want to send my thoughts to Wardlow. He had a personal issue. That's why he wasn't at the show last night. So our thoughts are with Wardlow and his family right now. So
hope he's all right.
Yep.
So, and like I said, I like Wardlow. I actually think Wardlow has potential, but good God, he needs to get away from MJF, and MJF needs to get away from the inner circle because it's just not working at all. Okay, Josh. First off, shout out to we're going to talk about Cody here next. Shout out to Cody and Brandy, who are expecting their first child in 2021. That's awesome. We got the pregnancy announcement yesterday. I think that's terrific. Congratulations to them. I know we bash them all the time, but this is really truly a fantastic thing, and I'm very excited for them, and I hope that they bring their bundle of joy to the world, and that's really terrific. So congratulations to Cody and Brandy. That's just wonderful news. That being said,
Yes, go ahead.
That being said, I, for the life of me, have no idea what the hell is happening. This convoluted storyline with Cody, Sting, Team Taz, Darby Allin. I can't figure out. Here's the thing, Josh. If they were all intertwined somehow and they gave me a reason to care, then I'd be okay with it. But why should I care? Who am I cheering for in this? Is Cody a face? Is Cody a heel? Is Sting against Cody? Is Sting with Cody? Is Sting with Team Taz? Is Sting against Team Taz? And where the hell does Darby Allin fall into this? Is he going to be going against Brian Cage? Is Sting going to give Darby Allin a rub? Like, again, it's all intertwined and convoluted, but I don't care. I don't have a reason to care. I cared when it was Cody versus Team Taz. Like, that I was actually intrigued about because a couple weeks ago, they had a great promo, and I really enjoyed their promo. But now they've convoluted it by throwing in Darby Allin and Sting. I don't care. I don't care. Why should I care? Go ahead.
I told you this last night. Like, somebody please let me know when Sting does something interesting because, oh man, this has to wait for Brother Kurt to come back because I have to see his reaction when I say this. Okay, let me take a step back and mention this really quick. Brandy Rhodes, congratulations with the pregnancy. Obviously, that's great news. That's a great thing. I'm not going to knock anything on that end. But I will say this, though.
Sorry, Josh. I had to fill up my water real quick. Go ahead.
I will say this, though, and I'm putting the pregnancy aside because I'm happy for Cody and Brandy, and I'll push that to the side. But I will say this, though. I don't know who's done more heel turns. Paul Orndorff, Big Show, or Brandy Rhodes. I gotta give a shout out to Hoodie because he brought up Paul Orndorff in his podcast. That's true. And I'm like, wow, holy shit.
Okay, what were you gonna say, Josh? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to get your reaction to this. Okay, so every time I see Sting come out, I am at my wit's end of Tony Schiavone having an orgasm. It's Sting!
Yes, thank you. It's not natural. Here's the thing, Josh. It's not natural. It's forced. Like they clearly do it just to get the nostalgic reaction, and I
mentioned it last week. We got Cody in 3 different feuds. One, he needs to fill his freaking Triple H complex. Second, he has to figure out, am I still going to be the top guy in the Elite? And 3, now we got this thing with him and Taz. And here's the thing, you got this group of badasses, but they're backing away from a 61-year-old man with a baseball bat. This is not TNA. Well, actually, I'm wrong. This is TNA. Every time I watch AEW, it reminds me of Hulk Hogan and Bischoff running in 2010. Here we are 10 years later, and people are going to tell me in a couple months, they should put AEW on Monday nights. I guarantee you that's coming soon.
You know what, Josh? Do it. Put AEW on Monday nights. Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
Let me know how that works out.
Let's see. Yeah, put your cards on the table. Show some balls. You guys have all the answers to write the ills of the WWE. Go ahead, because that's the reason why you made a promotion in the first place, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see what happens with the ratings. Go ahead.
Fucking unreal. It's literally carbon copy of TNA in 2010. Like Matt Hardy's at the Mr. Anderson stage.
The Young Bucks are looking at the Hall and Nash kind of stage, where
God. Let's bring that up really quick because we got this greatest tag team division in the history of wrestling in AEW, right? So this is a good way to recap the show in a nutshell because there was 5 fucking tag matches last night. None of them that were consequential, and none outside the SEU and Acclaim match that had anything to do with the tag team titles. And here's the thing. I don't know what Tony Khan warrants quality or what constitutes a title opportunity, but like he's just dropping title matches off the fly to anybody that appears on this AEW Dark show that goes on forever and ever and ever. 14 matches this week, 2+ hour shows each and every single week. And I'm the one that hates AEW, right? I mentioned earlier in the show, I watched Dynamite 3 times last night.
You poor bastard.
And here's the thing. Here's the wrestling promotion that touts as the greatest wrestling in tag team wrestling, but they have the worst layouts in all tag team wrestling. All of them, like you mentioned earlier, spot. We can't. How many times have you seen the match? Reverse out of the Irish Whip, reverse out of the Irish. Blah, blah, blah. Like it goes backward like a fucking circus lay act, and it's like I type out words Irish Whip and counter more than any wrestling move in a tag match because that's all it is. And I mentioned this before. Every time, especially when it's like a 6-man or 12-man tag match, and you got these fucking stupid simultaneous tags, 1, 2. That's illegal. You should not do that. And why are baby faces having a 3-on-1 advantage on a heel? I heard JR mention it during the first match of the show. You had Private Party and Matt Hardy. They have the 3-on advantage on Heyman. What are we doing here? And again, you're making your referees look bad, and they're already a bad crew as it is.
Right. Yes, that's well, don't even get us started, Josh, on the once again the referees and the commentary team every week. It just continues to get worse and worse and worse. And we'll get into that with Don Callis when we get to the later on in the show. The interaction between Callis and the commentary team, because that was brutal too.
Yeah, speaking of brutal, we have everybody's favorite referee, Aubrey Edwards, as the referee for the 12-man Mudshow. What was your thoughts on that?
Okay, so here's what you're saying. The referee who clearly does not know how to control anything in a match, we're going to put her with 12 wrestlers going at it like that. Josh, I was not intrigued at all by the 12-man tag. I thought it was boring. I thought it was just, I couldn't figure out who was legal, who was not. What was the point? Well, the point was to further the MJF storyline, which I get it. That's fine. You know, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with the reason because it was to further the MJF Jericho storyline. Fine. But I couldn't figure out who was legal. I couldn't figure out I couldn't even figure out who was in the ring. And I was like, okay, is Brian, okay, it looks like it's Brian Pillman, but now is it Griff Garrison? Is it, I don't understand.
Look how sloppy the match was.
It was right. It was horrible.
Especially at the end. Fucking Jake Hager bumbling and stumbling all over the place. NyQuil Lesnar, go home and stay home.
Here's the other thing, Josh. Why did they book the ending the way that it was? What if they were going to do that finish? Have MJF tag himself in and steal the pin? Like that's how you book that finish. Not, oh yeah, you want the pin? Sure, no problem, MJF. We'll tag in to get the win. That clearly proved that Hager is worthless. That proved that Hager is worthless because if MJF had stolen the pin, then it'd be like, okay, I get what they're doing here. You know, you can further the storyline that way. But Hager proved that NyQuil Lesnar, the only thing good about Jake Hager is his wife. That's it.
Yes.
But it was, I hated it. Sammy Guevara needs to get away because Sammy's stock is declining every single week that he's with the Inner Circle. Because I actually think that there's hope for Sammy Guevara because he plays that kind of douchey role really well, actually. But he needs to get away from them too.
I have to mention this because this was blaring to me as I had to suffer through this 3 times last night. My head wanted to explode with whoever girl that was screeching at ringside the entire fucking show. I don't know who that was. I don't know if you heard it or not, but especially during the Sing segment and other stuff, there's like fucking screeching. Like, shut up. It wasn't even Vicky Guerrero. It's like one of these talents would start just screaming incessantly for no reason. Like,
no. I do want to say one positive thing about the 12-man tag, though, Josh, and is that apparently one of the members of Top Flight is only 19 years old. Like, that's
To me, I think that's kind of cool. Like that he's getting the opportunity. Clearly, very athletic. You can tell he's young and is kind of getting his thing. But he actually did okay on his promo backstage. So I think that I will say, like the fact that he's only 19 and is looking that good for a 19-year-old, I think that's actually pretty cool.
One thing that was not cool is seeing the Acclaim on Dynamite last night. You got a little taste of what I have to deal with on Tuesday nights.
Okay, Josh, I'm going to say this here. So what you're telling me is that Frankie Kazarian is better at rapping than the character whose gimmick it is to be a rapper. That's what I got out of it last night. From that segment was what I got out of it is that. I also was going to say I would love to see SCU against FTR or the Bucks again, but it looks like that's going to be going to this useless tag team, The Acclaim, because Tony Khan put this team together and they're going to push this team to the moon because he thought of this great idea. Ridiculous.
It's brutal. And then SCU loses, and then the Acclaim challenges the Young Bucks to a match.
Okay, so Josh,
they talk smack to them, dude. So many people talk shit about the Young Bucks every week, so that means they get a tag team title match.
What this guy,
Tony Khan talks out of both sides of his ass.
The rating system means absolutely nothing in this company now.
And by the way, for Money Mark Jones out there, stop doing these stupid ass paid ads on Impact Wrestling because they're fucking cringeworthy. You are a promoter. You're not a wrestler. You have the balls to say that you're going to teach Don Callis a thing or two about the wrestling business. You've been in it for a fucking year. And just because you've been a 30-plus year subscriber on the fucking Observer doesn't mean shit. I'm so tired of this freaking schmuck, man. It's one thing to say when Dixie Carter has more redeeming qualities than you do as a wrestling person. Go ahead.
The only reason he's got this is because he's got a $5 billion bank account to play with. If I had $5 billion, I could start a wrestling promotion too and sign all of these people and get a great TV deal because I could pay for it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's what he's not a wrestler. He's not a booker. He's just a guy who's playing booker with his daddy's money. And it honestly, you know what it is, Josh? It's doing a disservice to the wrestling industry. That's exactly what it is. It's bringing the entire wrestling industry down because you've got all these great performers on other shows who are really trying their best. But now it's all, as Cornette puts it, it's all friends wrestling that are just trying to pat themselves on the back and collect a paycheck from this wrestling mark to produce a shitty product. It's bringing the entire wrestling industry down.
Absolutely. And then, again, this is a company that's based their matches on wins and losses. So you have 7 wins from the Acclaim against jabronis on AEW Dark, and that constitutes a title shot because they talk shit about the Young Bucks. Like, I'm happy that FTR went off on the commentary table later on. There's no reason why a team like FTR is pushed aside for the fucking Zoo Express. Like, I know you like them. I know you like Dino Douche and Jungle Girl and Stunted Growth. But still, FTR is one of the greatest tag teams in the world. And we're putting them to the side for fucking farm animals.
Hold on. I never said I liked Stunted Growth. I only said I liked Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. I like those two. But Marco Stunt needs... What is it, Joshie? Go home and stay home.
Yeah, go home and stay him. Yes. Was it Dino Douche or Dino Douche?
I don't know. I know James isn't a fan of them, but I like Jungle Boy and I like Luchasaurus. Just get. But
I take back the Jungle Girl line. That was a little harsh.
Yeah, because I mean you've seen it, Josh. I think Jungle Boy is very talented. Jungle Jack Perry. I think he's great. But but FTR is right.
If he doesn't do the Young Bucks moves all the time, go ahead.
We're going to have 5 tag matches on next week's show or whatever, and none of them includes legitimately one of the best tag teams in the world. I think they are, anyways, an FTR. I think the FTR is fantastic.
Yeah, that's our Christmas gift. More shitty tag matches on television. Awesome.
Hey, Josh, speaking of shitty, can we talk about Miro?
Yes, please.
Miro, his decline since entering All Elite, the end of his run in WWE,
He has gotten worse and worse every week since joining All Elite Wrestling. And I say it every week, Josh. I see why WWE got rid of him. He's terrible. Yeah. Miro sucks while Lana is making it. His wife is making an ascension.
Yep.
In the company. Well, I use ascension loosely because she's doing great and I'm happy for her. And her special on the network was great. I mean, everybody should check that out.
Right, Jack sucks, but go ahead.
No, she sucks. But I'm saying Lana's special was great, and everyone needs to check that out. It was really, very, very, very well done.
I agree.
But Miro gets worse and worse so he randomly attacks guys, and they're fining him $75,000. Where the hell did that come from? Why was there no video package shown about that? And oh, by the way, what's that backstage interviewer's name? I can't remember his name.
Officer Barbary. That's what
he sucks. He's awful too. God, stick with Dasha. She's great. I like Dasha. She's great. But Officer Barbrady's a Nimrod. He sucks. But to me, Josh, Miro may be the worst thing in AEW. Second worst, next to their women's division. But Miro may be the worst thing. But Miro may be the worst thing in All Elite Wrestling right now. He's terrible. Oh, and Josh, what are we getting next week? We're getting a big segment with him and Times New Roman font to announce, this is going to be the biggest wedding day reveal ever. Good Lord.
It's a Mudshow, guys. I'm sorry. This is like, by the way, I love when Cornette does the like Miro and Riho. You hear when he says that? It's fucking gold. Yes, it's
okay.
All right. Let's get to the main event.
Hold on. Can we talk about the women's division real quick before we get into the main event? Right. Okay. Here, I have a rant about this, Josh. I want to have a little mini rant about this. Okay. So we get to the women's division, right? They announced Serena Deeb, NWA Women's Champion, right? She's currently number 4 in the women's rankings.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And Big Swole is number 1. So what you're saying is that the champion of another promotion who is being featured on your broadcast is number 4, right? So two things. One, what does that say about the NWA Women's Championship and how AEW values that? Because they're currently putting the NWA Women's Champion as number 4. NWA should look at this as a slap in the face. Like, they're taking our champion. Of course, I also think that NWA doesn't really care about the women's division either. And it's very obvious that AEW does not care about the women's division because the best part about it, Britt Baker is not on television every week, right? And she was in a small backstage promo, but she's clearly head and shoulders the best part of their women's division every week. You know, we don't see Penelope Ford every week, and she's the best part about that whole mud show of a group. Right.
Well, let's not forget who's running the women's division. It's Olivier.
Right. But it's all except women because we don't randomly, you know, Vicky Guerrero and Nia Rose made a random appearance this week. We don't see the champion every week on their show.
She was on Dark this week.
Okay, fine. But on their main show, the women's champion was not seen. I cannot stand the All Elite Wrestling women's division. I think it's booked horribly. I think that these women are being treated just god awfully, and I think it's a disservice to them. I think it's what AEW says about women and about what they think about women's wrestling. And I stand by the moniker AEW stands for all except women. All except women. They should rename All Elite Wrestling what was I saying? Awesomely Effortless Wrestling. Because that's what it is. I remember what AEW stands for.
Anything except wrestling.
Anything except wrestling, all except women, actually effortless wrestling. That's what AEW stands for, Josh. I cannot stand their women's division. I think it's one of the worst things that the company does. And they should be ashamed of themselves for how the women's division is booked. And all those women who have talent need to get the hell away from AEW. Go to NXT.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, you got a star on your hands like Anna Jay and Penelope Ford, and you do nothing with them.
I think Ty Conti has got potential. She's great. But they closed the segment with Red Velvet, who doesn't have a win.
One, yeah.
Right? What's her record?
That's like a 1-15 record or something.
But they make her like a badass by taking everybody out with a chair.
Well, that's the thing that they misconstrued the audience by thinking by having sloppy post-match brawls that equals character development. Really? Just because WCW did that all the time back then with a sloppy post-match brawl so we have to just we have to put everybody in a show to constitute it as character development. It doesn't work that way.
That's the secret, Josh, is just recreate WCW and TNA. That's how you're going to be successful.
Yeah, let's talk about the main event because we got to make these predictions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kenny Olivier against Jelly Nutella in a no DQ hog pen match. That's what the quality was, at least. And we have Don Callis providing. I put it in the article if you guys can see it later on. It said that Callis was providing ringside commentary for this match. Yeah. So, by the way, anybody that's putting Olivier and Callis in the same category as Bockwinkel and Bobby Heenan, you guys are out of your ever-loving mind because Olivier can't lace freaking Bockwinkel's wrestling boots.
No.
Give me a break. And why are we having this Mudshow carnival freak in Jelly Nutella main eventing your show on Dynamite? And this is what I'm talking about here. Okay, you have Dave Meltzer try to convince people that Kenny Omega's done more for wrestling and wrestling fans in the last 10 years than anybody else in the wrestling business. Are you out of your fucking mind? He's like, oh, Kenny Omega's been a bigger draw than anybody in the last 10 years. Does John Cena ring a fucking bell? Does CM Punk ring a bell?
He and you know how much I dislike Punk, but he was one of the first names I thought of was Punk. Like, you know, personal feelings aside, you give credit where credit is due. Punk is a draw. And Brock Lesnar. You tell me that every time, look how many views, if you go and look, Josh, and whenever WWE posts a YouTube match of Brock Lesnar, it always, within days, gets millions of views. Look at them. Just go back and look. Every single one of them gets millions of views. So you can't tell me that Lesnar is not one of the biggest draws over the last 10 years.
So I know we're gonna get into this like petty feud with Impact and AEW because we already saw it already with Don Callis and Tony Schiavone, and I mentioned earlier the shitty ads that's been airing on Impact with Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone. Tony, you're not funny. You're not a heel. You're not Vince in Memphis. Like you're not that. You're never gonna be Vince McMahon. Just stop.
Right.
All right. Well, I know you said you wanted to go off a little bit about the commentary that was going on during this match.
So here, I'll just say two things about this real quick, Josh. So apparently what we're going to get now is a Don Callis versus the commentary feud, a la Mike Tenay and Don West in TNA wrestling. This is what it has come to. And you've already got the worst commentary team in wrestling.
Correct, yes.
Which means that Josh Matthews is above this commentary team, and it's 100% correct. And we're going to put them in a feud with Don Callis, who is running another wrestling organization, but is putting his stock into AEW. How does that make sense from a business standpoint? It makes zero sense. You've got the worst commentary team in the world versus a guy who runs another company but is putting all of his stock into All Elite Wrestling. Right. How does that make sense? It doesn't. It's stupid. I hate it. I will say this though, Josh. Omega's entrance is slightly growing on me, and it is. And I also found out I found out where the North Carolina thing comes from, and I'm probably late to the game on this.
That makes it worse because I saw that response.
You know, apparently it's a nod to Michael Jordan.
Well, again, Kenny Olivier is not Nick Bockwinkel, and
Correct.
He sure as hell is not Michael fucking Jordan.
Correct.
Give me a break.
So I at least know where it's come from, but that's what I wanted to go my rant on, Josh, about the commentary feud we're about to get. It's going to remind me of Tenay and Don West in TNA.
Well, what was your thoughts on the match?
I was uninterested. I'm sorry. Like I don't care. I didn't care one bit about the match. I knew Omega was going to go over because when was the last time Joey Janela or Jelly Nutella has been relevant?
That's a great question. On that note, I think it's time to wrap this up.
Yeah, let's get out of here. We got other stuff to do. All right, let's go. This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Buddy Mark Jones.
If it wasn't for this podcast, Josh, I would stop watching that godforsaken program. I am happy to see Pac back. I will say that. Always great to see Pac. He's fantastic.
Yeah, so we found out that Olivier will be fighting Phoenix on the December 30th show. I'm sure that'll be a spot fest. All right, let's move on from the Mudshow. We'll switch this off with a bang. I want to thank Brett Hart for coming on this week. It's been a blast.
It was a pleasure, my friend.
All right, we'll have you run down the card for known as Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. And
absolutely.
Let's not forget the one TLC pay-per-view that had stairs.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if we can pull up the card here. I'm trying to find it right now. I'm actually looking forward to this card, Josh. I think there's going to be some great matches on there. And let's go ahead and start with the Women's Tag Team Championship match. We've got the champions, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, defending their titles against Asuka and a mystery partner to be named. Ooh. I believe that the mystery partner is going to be Dana Brooke. And I believe that the champions will retain their titles, which is unfortunate because I really think that they need to get Baszler and Jax away from each other and let Nia Jax run off into obscurity. And so we can get Asuka versus Shayna Baszler in 2021. But I think that the partner is going to be Dana Brooke and the champs will retain.
Yes. I was going to mention this, Chris, now it's time for me to answer your question from earlier. Nobody's brought this up, but it's time for the Queen to grace us with her presence and get her revenge on Nia Jax.
Woo! Woo! Yes. Oh, I'd mark out, dude.
Yeah, I had the scenario. We have Asuka and Charlotte as a tag team. They fight each other at the Rumble. Charlotte wins. And then you have Charlotte against Alexa WrestleMania. That's what I if it was up to me, if Joshie had the pencil.
I'd like that.
I do hope Shayna and Nia lose the tag titles because they need to get away from each other. That is one thought I do have for this match. But what's next?
Next up, let's take a look at we'll stick with tag team champions Josh and the New Day defending their title against the Business That Hurts. And they have been having unbelievable matches on Raw over the last month. It's been just terrific every time that they've been doing it. And I say, Josh, that is finally the time, and we will get new tag team champions. I think that the Hurt Business is finally going to get over the hump, defeat the New Day, and become the new Raw tag team champions.
I got the Hurt Business winning as well, but I would advise Cedric Alexander to calm himself down a little bit because you don't want to be the Sammy Guevara of the group, and it's Alexander is one mistake away from going back into catering and getting kicked out of the best group in the business. So I go with the Hurt Business as well, but this should be a great match.
By the way, Josh, the Hurt Business is the best thing that's ever happened to Cedric Alexander. He has just grown by leaps and bounds since being around.
And Bobby Lashley.
And Bobby Lashley. Oh, for sure. Hell, even Shelton Benjamin. This is probably the best Shelton Benjamin we've ever seen.
Yes.
And keep in mind, he was the gold standard back in the day. But now he's been incredible. So I think that's absolutely going to be terrific. Let's get into the SmackDown Women's Championship match. We've got Sasha Banks defending against the returning Carmella, who's been fantastic at all. Who do you have in this one, Josh?
Carmella Waterfall this last week on SmackDown was a high tier elite, in my opinion. By the way,
yes.
I got Sasha retaining here.
Yeah, I think I think that's going to happen as well. I've got Sasha retaining, and I hope that we see Sasha versus Bianca Belair getting into 2021 after Bianca Belair is done with Bayley. With that feud with those two, because I think that that's going to be great stuff going forward. But I have Sasha retaining as well.
Don't go here.
By the way, I thought this was funny on Raw this week that when they were airing anti-vaping programs and they had Raw featuring Bianca Belair.
I saw that.
And I said,
that was probably recorded before the draft started.
Well, of course. Yeah. I tweeted out, vaping is bad, kids. It makes you realize that you don't know which superstar when that Raw thinks that, that superstar Raw thinks that their own superstars are on their show when they're in fact on SmackDown. That it causes you to not know what show you're on.
Right.
So
that's funny.
It's great. All right. Next, we're getting into The Fiend versus Bray Wyatt in breaking news from this morning that will now be contested in the first ever Firefly Inferno match. So now I see why they did the burning thing. Obviously, this is going to be a pre-produced segment, which or pre-produced match, which WWE has been knocking out of the park recently. I've got The Fiend winning this match, getting his revenge on Randy Orton for burning down the Fiend's sister Abigail's home. They've been incredible recently, and I think The Fiend is going to lead into great things into 2021. So I've got The Fiend winning this pre-produced match.
I got The Fiend winning, but don't be surprised if Randy Orton wins if they want to do one more at the Royal Rumble.
Sure.
Just throw that out there. And it may be just like a regular Inferno match, but just more elements around the match. So I'm looking forward to it. It's fun. I was actually one of the few that liked the House of Horror matches, but I told this in the past, like the mistake that happened with that was that they aired it live on TV instead of having it be its own network's like special. Like could have made it like a 23-minute special the night before that pay-per-view, and doing it with the live crowd is just not a good decision. Like you go back and watch the House of Horrors, it's not bad actually, to be honest with you. So,
but yeah, they should have just stuck with a pre-produced match. Okay, but before we get into the two championship matches, Josh, let's quickly run down some matches that we could possibly see this weekend. And just real quick predictions as if they could happen. Perhaps a Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso match on the pre-show or something like that to fill some time. I think we could possibly see that. Right. And if that happens, I'd give the Daniel Bryan getting the win to further the split between Reigns and Uso. What do you think if that were to happen?
I could see Daniel Bryan winning that one as well. Also, wouldn't be surprised if it's Daniel Bryan against Sami Zayn for the IC title. Or Big E versus Sami Zayn for the IC title. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow.
Indeed. I was going to ask about the IC title. Who is Sami Zayn face? And I like the idea of either Daniel Bryan or Big E. I think that'd be great with Zayn retaining as well. Let's get into a couple more potential championship matches. I know we're going to be seeing they've announced that Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode will challenge the Street Profits this Friday on SmackDown, but I also think we could see that again this Sunday at TLC with the champions retained.
I don't be surprised if there's a three-way because we had that little interaction last week with Cesaro and Nakamura, so it could be Street Profits, Roode, Ziggler, and Nakamura and Cesaro. So be on the lookout for that. Also, be on the lookout for possibly Bobby Lashley against Matt Riddle. I don't know if it happened on Sunday or at the Royal Rumble. Maybe they hold it off for that. But there's already like 6 or 7 matches. This is the last pay-per-view of the year for WWE, and we have to give props where credit's due. They've done a great job with the run times for the pay-per-views this year, and it hasn't felt overly long
Right. But that was the other one I was going to say, Josh, is do we see Matt Riddle versus Lashley? And if we do, I would say Lashley retains and they're going to push Hurt Business to be this incredible stable.
Watch out for the Pro-Nuts.
Which may mean... Oh, he's been great. Matt Riddle in the backstage stuff has been hilarious. He's been terrific. Yes. Which I think, Josh, if Hurt Business wins the tag titles and Lashley retains, don't be surprised if MVP gets a world title match. Either at Royal Rumble or at Elimination Chamber, getting into Mania, because to give the Hurt Business all the gold. But let's get into the two championship matches, Josh. We've got Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against AJ Styles. I believe this is a TLC match.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to say that McIntyre retains. I've said that Drew McIntyre should be the superstar of the year 2020. His promo about him carrying the company is 100% true, and I love what they're doing with him. So I will say that Drew McIntyre retains the WWE Championship and should be named Superstar of the Year in the Slammy Awards next week.
I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre to retain as well. Make sure to watch out for cameos from Sheamus, Miz, and Morrison. And I think Sheamus turns on McIntyre after the match is over.
Mm-hmm. And that could be your Royal Rumble WWE Championship match.
Sí, correcto.
And finally, Josh, the match that I think could steal the show: Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship. I've said, I initially thought that, and I'll let you do the predict first here because I know I've been doing a lot of them, but I'll tell you. You go ahead and give your prediction first, and then I'll talk about what I want to say. So go ahead.
I got Roman Reigns retaining here. This will be definitely a slugfest, but as much as I love an upset or something like that for KL, just for that like 1 month or something like that, I don't think it's time. But I'm really curious to see what Kevin does tomorrow. For the go home for this pay-per-view after that beatdown last weekend. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be a great match. So I'm fine with either guy winning, to be honest with you. I don't think Roman losing would hurt him because he can get back at the Rumble. Tribal Chiefs do have setbacks here and there. But I'm going with Roman Reigns, but this should be a fucking awesome match. I'm looking forward to transcribing it, and it could be one of the best TLC matches. And let's not forget, Roman and Kevin have had great pay-per-view championship matches over the years. Let's not forget the the Falls Count Anywhere match they had at the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago. I'm looking forward to this one. This should be a barn burner.
I've said for a long time that ever since the thing with Jey Uso, I've said that all of the best challengers to Roman Reigns are on Raw. And, again, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Fiend.
Right.
The only one, and I didn't think about this until they started doing it, that could psychologically challenge Roman Reigns is Kevin Owens on SmackDown. And we're seeing that now. So this was the absolute best pairing they could have done going into something big in 2021, which I do think will be Goldberg. I think we'll get the Goldberg match in 2021. That being said, I think this is going to be an absolute slugfest. I think that Roman Reigns retains as well. But I think that we're going to get some interaction with Roman and Jey again, and perhaps even Jimmy, because we've only seen Jimmy in small doses. And at some point, we're going to get an interaction with Jimmy Uso. Naomi as well is going to somehow get involved in this feud. I think that Roman retains, but it's going to leave us, as all Roman's matches have done at these pay-per-views over the last few months, have left us being like, geez, who can stop the tribal chief? And I think that we're going to get one of those as well. But I think this is going to be an incredible match. Owens is an underutilized talent. And I mean that in the way that you could snap your fingers, put the world title on him, and it'd be fine. But I think that Roman Reigns retains as well. Again, Josh, this whole thing speaks to WWE's depth at roster, because legitimately on both shows, I think that there are 5 or 6 competitors that if you snapped your fingers and put the world title on them tomorrow, you would be completely fine with it. And that's just how deep WWE's roster is right now. But I'm looking forward to the show. It's going to be great.
And if you have like nice little visual after the match here, the little Brock Lesnar sirens, like he doesn't come out, but and then Roman's looking around and the show goes off the air. That's so.
It's coming. Their eventual match is coming, Josh. Don't be shocked if it happens at Mania this year. A Roman Brock match.
I won't.
With Brock as the underdog. That's going to be the key.
No, knowing my luck, the next WrestleMania I'll go to be the one with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, because I was there for 31. We were there for 34. Every time I go to the day of WrestleMania, it's Brock versus Roman. So, all right. We're going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to check out this fun show. This is a blast, and we hit on a lot of fun stuff this week. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. We record the show every single Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast from. It comes to you free of charge, so you don't have to pay for the show. Also, leave us a 4 or 5 star review. Helps expand the reach of the podcast if you would. And make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. I'm at Twitter, the Hoots Podcast. You follow me at Twitter at Joshie Lopez 94. See me do some guitar covers at Josh Lopez Music. Make sure to follow Brother Carter on Instagram at Derek06. He's on Twitter at Derek Stoughton as well. Make sure to support his work at WrestlingRumors.net. Good brother of all good brothers, director of operations. Hey, I forgot to mention this last time I recorded this. How did I do for what we called it, the performance evaluation?
Well, Josh, once again, I'm going to give you an A for your performance as always. You've done a fantastic job as I continue as director of operations to promote the brand. I do everything for the brand, to quote our good friend Pat McAfee. Well, he's not our good friend, but a very entertaining performer in Pat McAfee. You're doing great work for the brand, and as I try to do the work backstage to promote as what the directors of operations do, you get an A, my friend. Good job. Except for your Judas. I'm going to give it A- because of your Judas take. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Meatloaf and Judas sing-alongs. They're a great combination.
You want that A- to become a B, Josh? I'm just saying. Be careful there.
Watch your tone there, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 236 of the Hoots Podcast. Don't forget to be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, you are dictating the pace of your life, nobody else. For Brett Carter, I'm Joshie. Enjoy TLC this weekend. We'll be back here to recap it right here on the Hoots Podcast. Love you guys. Yes, sir.